Silvia, welcome to Bold Works. How are you?
Good, excited to be here. And yeah, I don't know, just expectant.
I am super excited. This project brings me always out of my comfort zone because I need to dare to ask people. And then I was thinking, I know more women, and I recall you. And then I thought I'm gonna text her. And I am super happy and that you accepted the offer of having a moment to share with more women. Silvia, let me start with this.
Okay.
Um, can you describe yourself in 2 words?
In 2 words,
Yes.
I'm a super curious person since I was little. It's something that everything was like, and what is that? And why is that? Always. I'm super curious. And maybe as I am getting older, I am becoming more, I don't know, it's creative as well. But creativity is something that it has been with me like throughout my life. And but maybe a more accurate word for this stage of my life could be like empathy.
Oh,
I focus a lot of empathy, and I like to like just realizing the moments that I haven't been empathetic or the moments that I have been empathetic, and like how can I improve that in me? Yeah.
may I ask how or maybe why, if in your journey, empathy became a topic?
When I moved out of Mexico and I got here in Canada, honestly, I was like super surprised of all the cultures that I was being in contact with. Um, Surprised me all the religions, all the mindsets, all the different ways of working or studying or interacting. And I was like, if I don't start like trying to be like just being aware of how why are we are where are they coming from to
Yeah.
get this idea or to this place, and if I don't if I don't start thinking about that, it would be like it would be a mess. It would be a nightmare for me because everyone around me is different from different countries, from different backgrounds. So it's something that I needed to do, I think.
Well, it's really interesting because from one side, it's kind of like a survivor instinct,
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
but it's coming from a super nice and positive way of approaching it. So I think empathy is something that sometimes we miss in our decision making. So we live in such a rush.
Yep.
So I am really pleased and really happy that empathy has been a topic in this latest phase of your life.
Yep.
And you were just saying, so you live in Canada, but you're
Mhm.
Mexican. So maybe
Yeah.
you can tell a bit of where are you, who are you, and what do you do?
I'm a multitasking person, that's for sure. But that's something that I've always been. I think I live in Canada since 2018. I moved with my husband here and my 2 dogs, and we live in Toronto. And we've been working in different fields, yes, but because when you move to a different country, you need to be out of your comfort zone. Yes or yes, there's no other option to be open to whatever life brings you at that point. And we moved out of from Mexico because we wanted to. Well, it was my idea. I must confess, it was my idea, and I wanted to try a different experience, be in contact with different people, different weather, different everything, a different environment in every kind of sense. So that was in 2018, and then the easiest way to do it was to study abroad. So I was the one that studied here. I studied radio broadcasting. It was a short program, a 2 years program here. Back in Mexico, I studied communications and I worked in radio for a while, and then I worked in advertising. And then it was like, okay, let's just stop. If I don't stop here and I make a completely different turn in my life, I will be stuck here, doing the same thing for a long time. And maybe the next thing for me is going to be like, I don't know, getting married. Of course, at that point I was already married, but having kids and grow older. And it's like, no, I need to experience something different. So moving to a different country made sense to me, and study what one of my biggest passions have always been radio. So when I saw this opportunity of studying radio in Canada, I was like, yeah, that's my thing. Radio is my passion. It's what a great opportunity to get back to it. But at that point, it didn't cross my mind like it's going to be super hard, because if you want to be in radio, working in radio, you need to know the culture. You need to know,
Yeah.
like in Mexico, we have football, soccer. Here they have hockey. I don't know anything about hockey. And you name it, completely different audiences. So it was super challenging. It was not as easy as I thought it was going to be, because at that point it was like, I've already worked in radio,
Wow.
whatever. No, whatever. I mean, it was super, super challenging. Then I worked in radio here for a while in a multicultural radio station for 4 years. And then it was like, okay, I learned everything that I had to learn here. I already understand the country and the different audiences and everything, but I need something different and something more challenging. And at that point, I was also sick of the news, because in that radio station, I worked in news. And newscasts are always hard, super, super hard. I was not mentally strong, not enough to put up with all the COVID-19 problems and all the politicians
Oof.
arguing and everything. And it was like, I can't. I can't. So I can't. So I just decided to quit, and look for different opportunities within the community and the communications field. But yeah, then I started a completely different chapter in my professional life, but always in communications, always trying to support people that needed it, different communities, vulnerable communities. So that's something that I try to do, and I still do it nowadays. Yeah.
And I find your story a really nice one, especially because I when I reach out to you and I was like thinking, okay, what she has a story, but I am not really sure, because even though I've seen her twice or three times in my life, I don't really know her, but I know like their story. And then I thought, okay, what do I see? And then from the distance, I saw so much passion around radio. And then I thought, like, well, for me, what's interesting and the type of topics that I try to discuss in this space are related to women that take conscious decisions. Whatever you want to do, it's perfect, but just
Yeah.
make sure that it serves you, not
Yeah.
just your surrounding, but yourself. So let me ask you, when do you recall when was the moment where you thought like, okay, this is radio is something that serves me, that makes me happy, that brings me joy?
Yeah, I think so, because when I was little, I mean like 8 years old or something like that, like super little, my father was always like, no, television is no good for kids. So stay away from radio, read a book, or hear the radio, listen to the radio. So he gave me a radio, and I remember it was like red and blue, like very kids friendly, colorful, and I put it in my in my room. And since then, 8 years old, it has been my company. It was my company throughout my life. So of course, it was because I am so curious. I was like, what is happening behind the speakers? Who is managing all these microphones and buttons and that studio? How is that? So that's how I grew up in love with radio, because it was my company. So when I was 18 years old, and I finished high school and I go into university, I was like, okay, I'm going to study communications, but I want to focus in radio. That's my thing. And I don't know, since I was in the middle of the career, I guess, and yeah, third, fourth semester, I guess, I was like, I need to take more lessons related to radio and announcing and production and everything. And I started working in radio, and I was like, oh my God, this is a dream come true. And I know how to do all the stuff behind the scenes, and I love it. And after a while, because I was working in public radio, and I work in public radio, of course, the pay was not good. And if I wanted to move out from my parents' house, it was, okay, I need a different job. I need more money. So that's why I quit radio at that point. I started doing like commercial announcing for different projects. Yeah, you name it, commercials, whatever. And then I moved out from my parents' house, and I was living the dream, my independence, my car, my everything. But I was not completely fulfilled, because I had to quit radio.
Yeah.
So, and I discovered that I had a talent for advertising, yes, because I am creative, because I am curious, because I am a multitasker, yes. And it was a good choice, I think, at that time. But I was always longing radio. It
Yeah.
was something that was, I don't know, in my blood, I guess.
Um, and you mentioned now, like, I think decisions, right? Like, one of the things that I've been realizing is uh, the way, like, these small decisions are at the end,
Mhm.
the piling up of who we are. So it's
Yeah.
not just one crucial, amazing moment where, people sometimes romanticize these moments when you take ownership and you feel empowered. Well,
Yeah.
sometimes, but the reality is that it's less romantic. It's really
Mhm.
chaotic. It's with really ups and downs, and it's in the tiny decisions. So, because now you said, well, first I quit the radio, then I started working, then I started earning money, then I felt like, okay, I start going out. When was the moment that you said, okay, the moment, and what was the decision, like
Mhm.
the action related to, okay, I really want to follow radio again? Was it like going back to study? Was it like the moment, like the migration plus radio, the moment that you said, okay, I'm going to go back to radio again?
Yeah, I think I tried in Mexico to do it once or twice after I quit, like the first time, the public radio. But I realized that there was no radio station that fulfilled me in terms of content, because I didn't want to be on a commercial radio, like just presenting songs, like, oh, and now with you, Lady Gaga, whatever. No, for me, it was just, I need real content, create something more meaningful to my audience, whatever my audience ended up being, right? So I was like, no, in Mexico, maybe there's no chance, or maybe I was so ignorant, maybe there was an opportunity, but I couldn't find it at the time, just
Yeah, yeah.
life as it is. And so that was when I discovered that there was an opportunity to study radio here in Canada. I was like, maybe in Canada there's a radio station and there's an audience and there's a space for me there to create meaningful content. So I saw it like an opportunity. For me, it was like life putting me in front of me again, like there's a chance in radio for you again in your life. And I was
Wow.
like, let's just take it. And then I didn't expect all the other things. But yeah, that was like I don't know, like the moment, the Rosa de Guadalupe moment.
Exactly. Like, "Ah."
Exactly.
um, I also think one of the other theses around like this project is that when you um, when you start exercising your creative side,
Hmm.
whatever that means,
Hmm.
then you are gonna start um, letting energy flow. Things
Hmm.
will come to their places, and then you will be much more synchronized with your own decisions. So I do think that creativity is a really relevant piece in our development.
Hmm.
And you just mentioned, I'm super curious, I am super creative, storytelling, I am good at this. How do you, but I also believe that even
Hmm.
though we all might not be as talented as someone like you, but we all can exercise it. We all can just take small, dare yourself a bit. And for me, for instance, this project is also that, like, just putting myself out there and saying like, okay, there's something that needs to be said, and because I think it's relevant and I want this to be this color, this idea. So how was your exercise of creativity, of being curious? Like, what would be your two, three pieces of advice for women that sometimes we don't dare, because we are more, oof, we think it and overthinking, and sometimes we don't dare to do the
Yeah.
step. What would be your advice for women?
I think that all this has to do with freedom. If you do not feel free, maybe we are not completely free because we have like certain responsibilities that you need to take your kid to school, or you need to walk your dogs, or you need to have a job to pay the
We live in
rent,
a
right?
society, yeah.
Exactly. We live in a society, for sure. But at some point, I think that I've always experienced, but that's something that I have always defended as well from the exterior, like this freedom of mind, of my mind, my ideas. So maybe the piece of advice would be like focus on the freedom inside you, right? Of
Yeah.
whatever you want to think, whatever you want to dream, whatever you want to be curious about. Maybe take some time about, like, I'm going to just spend maybe 10 minutes, maybe it's not more than 10 minutes, but really thinking about what would I like to do in a month or this weekend, or maybe what do I want to think about today? What is concerning me? What is like bringing me joy lately? Because I'm always like kind of in the exterior world with the responsibilities and everything, but at the same time I catch myself like more than once a day, at least, like, oh, this is interesting. Oh, I didn't expect that. And those oh moments for me brings me like the creativity and the freedom, and I don't know, it just bring me peace of mind, I guess.
Yeah, I think that sometimes we think, well, or at least let me speak on my behalf. I used to be much more expecting the idea that creativity will come like in specific moments of colors, and
Yeah,
like because you have this idea of like this is creative people, this
yeah,
is how they experience creativity. The reality is that in all the questions that you can ask yourself are like, but how, but why, and those things are, if you start feeding those questions, you will start getting more and more enthusiasm about some things, and that's when you will discover that there's something out there that really brings you that joy.
yeah.
So I agree with you, like think about what sets you free, what
Mhm.
brings you like this idea of like satisfaction.
Yeah,
In Mexico, we have like this phrase like me siento muy plena,
yeah,
like, and it's between peaceful but really satisfied. So it's a really nice feeling. Um, so I agree. And there's a friend of mine. She also she is a true believer about the power of storytelling. So she created a course to teach people how to develop storytelling skills. So I
wow.
think that all of those small courses, if you take a course here, a test class there, and I think that some, you mentioned that when you move to Canada, I think migration opens your eyes and your brain, like that's where you
Absolutely.
experience that, oh my God, there's people living this way. I never thought that was an option.
Yep. Yeah, it's mind blowing. Absolutely. And if you take it with a certain degree of openness, right? Instead of criticizing or comparing to, no, in Mexico we did it like this way, we do it like this way, or whatever. It's just like, no, I mean, just observe.
Exactly.
For me, it's been, and still nowadays, it's a huge exercise just to just step back, look at something, and just try not to have an opinion on it, on whatever I am looking at, or just not judging it, or maybe just thinking about all the possibilities that could have been happening there. It's just like step back and just observe. And it's hard. I am just, since I don't know, like a couple of years ago, I realized how used to have an opinion on everything we are. It's just like in us. With it seems that we have born with it, but we haven't. It's just like we just can observe, and that's it.
Yeah, I think the tricky part is like it's easier to have an opinion because then you just have a like a an statement and a judgment, and
Yeah,
that's it. Instead of
yeah,
like let it, when you try to be much more quiet and just observe, then you challenge yourself even more.
absolutely.
So that's also like
Absolutely.
quite tricky.
Yeah, it's super challenging, and it's because you have to unlearn everything that you have learned throughout your life, and it's like, no, God, but then you can feel unsafe or something, and it's like, no, just observe, right?
Exactly. I think 4 years back,
I think so.
when I think so,
Yes.
you reached out to me and you told me like I have this project, and it was a project that for me it was so meaningful because you connected your passion, your culture, and everything that comes with it, because it's a lot. That those two things there with Mexican culture, it's already a lot by itself.
Yeah, we are a lot.
We are. Um, and and how was it? How did that project started? Like, how do you get to know people? Um, Tell me more about that project.
Yeah, it's my baby. It's my baby, and the baby that challenged me the most. So in the middle of the pandemic, Adrian, my husband, and I were like, okay, we need to do something else. And maybe I was mostly here, the mente inquieta, right? Here. And it was like, okay, we need to do something else because we're stuck here. Between these four walls, and we need to do something. And I was just kind of desperate about it. And so I was like, well, let's open this Instagram profile with us sharing our experience. And it was like, what a boring thing to share our experience in Canada, whatever. Because also I learned when I was in university and throughout my life, it's like, if you're going to be a communicator, you can communicate only about yourself. That's just so egocentric. You need to step away from that. So I was like, no, let's do something else, from something more relevant, because my life here, it's amazing, whatever, or not amazing, whatever, but it's not the only thing. It is what it is, but it's not the only thing that is happening right here. So we just shared like a couple of posts about like, oh, this is the snow. Oh, awesome, right? Whatever. And then it was like, no, you know what? Because we're facing, super hard winters and some other challenges in terms of our papers and everything. But it was like people that Mexicans that are abroad, but that are living in faraway countries like Egypt or Russia or more distant countries, they should be facing challenges even harder than us. Because at the end, we are like 4 hours or 5 hours from Mexico City right now. So it's like, at the end, whatever. So
it's relative, yeah.
Exactly. And like we're so close to the United States, and Canada is super different from the United States, but at the end, we're not that far away. We're not that weird or, so at that point, I was like telling Adrian, what if we try to reach out people, Mexicans living in those countries, like faraway countries? And he was like, yeah, for sure. But how do we do it? And I was like, I don't know, but I know a couple of people that are in
They are Spain, already there. Yeah.
Italy, whatever. We can start with them, interviewing them, sharing their experiences as migrants, and then maybe that will help us reach out to different people. I don't know exactly how, but we'll figure it out. And that's a rule in my life. Like, keep going and you'll figure it out. That's like kind of my mantra. So we started with those 4 or 5 episodes. All people like our cousins, living abroad. And then through Instagram and using like the hashtags at that point and Mexicans living abroad and whatever, I started finding different people in different countries. And of course, when you are looking something, you are focusing on all the different places that you can have exactly what you're looking for. So I started finding people in different countries, and we started little by little, like, building this net of Mexicans living abroad and sharing their stories. And it became a therapy, honestly. Yeah. I don't know for Adrian, I can speak for him, but for me, it became like a therapy. And every time that I edit a video, a podcast, an episode, or every time that I contact them and I started learning about a bit about their lives there, I love it because I love traveling. It's one of my passions, traveling for sure. So I love that I get to know that country, that culture, and that people's story, right? That person's story through them. So it's like, for me, it's fulfilling in so many different aspects. And I get to be in contact with the microphone and the production side of the things. So it's like, it's like the perfect project for me in terms of like fulfilling my passions.
And
connecting people. That's another thing.
Because you are also into like how many projects? Because you are a multitasker. Like how many projects?
I'm a multitasker. Yeah, I think that sound in general, radio, but in terms of communication, sound, it's gonna be always my main passion, my biggest passion. Where I can spend 15 hours just editing a podcast, and I don't mind. I love it. Wow. I'm so perfectionist, and I don't mind. Honestly, I love it. So that's the main thing. So since I am not working in radio anymore, podcasting, it's like kind of the thing that, cover that part. Radio, announcing, every now and then I still receive some requirements from Mexico, like, hey, can you do this announcing for us and for a commercial or whatever? So I do announcing, mostly in Spanish, because of course, getting into the announcing field here in Canada when English is not your first language, we will always have an accent, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So I am not against that, but I know that the opportunities to be an announcer here, it's completely different, right? So I don't pursue that anymore, and it's not something that kills me. No, it's fine. So I do announce. I keep doing some sort of things related to announcing. Then to pay the rent, I also try to to find a job that fulfills me because I am against working in something. I mean, I can work in something that don't fulfill me. I don't mind for a while, but I cannot do it like for good
For the long, yeah.
for a long term. Exactly. So I've been in jobs that I don't like them for sure. I was an administrative assistant, and it was like, like the payables and receivables, and I was like, oh my god, Excel sheets. That was not for me, definitely. But it was only a couple of months, right, in between jobs, because I needed to pay the rent. We needed to pay the rent.
Yeah.
But I've been focusing on, if I am going to apply for a job, for a position, it has to be a position that really calls me,
Resonates with me.
resonates
Yeah.
with me. Exactly. I feel that, like the calling, right? So that's what I did, and today I am working as a communications person for the Institute of Indigenous Peoples Health. So Indigenous peoples here in Canada are a huge thing because, of course, Canada was a country that was colonized by French, but mostly by English, right, or the English people. But still nowadays, the Indigenous peoples, they like, and it's something that relates to me with Mexico, right? Because we have like the colonization from the Spaniards, and we have our people, like indigenous peoples. So when I went, yeah, it was a long time ago, when I knew about the history here, about the colonization and everything, I was like, oh my god, I need to learn more from the indigenous peoples here. And I started learning a lot about it, and it was something like, I need to support this cause, because if I am Mexican and I come from a country that was also colonized a long time ago, but I still feel related to it. And here it's a different story, but still it's something that some big culture came and killed people, and the Catholicism and everything, and I was like, I need to defend that. So that's why when I saw this position open, I was like, I need to be with them, I need to learn more about them, and I need to be helping them. And it's this institute focus on their health. They have very specific health issues and health challenges, but this institute belongs to the government. To the at the end of the day, this institute belongs to the government. It's funded by the government and funds all the research that it's being done for indigenous people's health.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I've been learning a lot. I've been traveling a lot, and I am so proud to have the opportunity to be here with this team, learning from them, and to be supporting this cause that. When I saw the job post, it said something like, if you are an indigenous people, you are more than welcome to apply. Like, we prefer an indigenous people to cover this position. And I was like, I am not indigenous. I am not even Canadian, but I don't mind. So I studied a lot. And when I received the offer, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be working with indigenous peoples, like, because everyone in the institute has an indigenous background here.
Wow.
And I'm going to be the only one from abroad. Like, English is not even my first language. And so I was like, I should really feel proud about this.
Super proud.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, every time that I think about that time when I was interviewing and doing all these tests that they gave me and everything, and at the end I saw the result, I was like, oh my God, I nowadays can still cry about it. Honestly, it was just like something that I was not expecting it to come.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it.
You mentioned one word which was going to be also part of my next question.
Oh.
It's like you mentioned passion, but passion, the same that we were discussing, right? Like it's like this romantic idea of like, I imagined you like working in the radio, like super, because I also study communications and I also went to like the radio station, and I was like, why do I do this? I don't get any of these buttons. Why are they asking me to? And everyone was asking me, just press this button. And I'm like, okay. I wasn't allowed to do post-production. Thank God, because I was so bad at it. But I was just in charge of make sure that everything was done, So that was my role.
Okay.
Something I learned. But when it comes to passion, it's also about being real, like being tired, being like sick and having to still have to work, what you were saying. So getting the job that I don't like in order to pay the bills, to in a later stage have my dream job. right? Like dream jobs come out of sacrifice. They don't always come like "Ta-da," here for you in the most
Yeah.
with in a white horse with a that it doesn't work that way.
No.
uh, do you recall like those like real moments of like, okay, this is a tough one. This has been a tough day for me. Do you recall one of those days that, but you say like,
So
okay,
many.
yeah,
So many, and so many times when you want to quit and maybe not get back to Mexico. Getting back to Mexico hasn't been an option for me. But I remember when I quit radio here, the radio station here in Canada, and trying to move forward to a different field, like in the communications field, but not radio anymore. But I wanted something that fulfills me and everything at that point. So I was applying, I don't know to how many positions. I don't know. And I didn't hear back from any one of them. And at that point, I remember that Adrian, it was that exact. I received this invite to an interview, to two interviews actually. It was January, February. It was like the worst part of the winter here, super dark days as well. So that's also hard.
So painful.
So painful, so painful. And by that time, I was like with no job for, I don't know, for 6 months or something like that. And so it was like, I need to get a job soon because, I mean, we don't want to be in debt and everything, right? So I interviewed for these two positions. One of them was my favorite. It was for to work in a university for the alumni department. So the pay was good and the team seemed great to me and everything. And I was like, please, I need that job. But I was not hearing back from them again after the first interview. And I remember that night when I was with Adrian after having dinner, and he was like, you need to get a job. I know that you want that position, but if they don't get back to you, you need to move to a whatever, like go to a cafeteria. It doesn't matter. And I was open to that. But at that point, I had already this experience working as administrative assistant. So it was like, okay, if I need to get back to that kind of things, I don't mind. But it was like, yeah, okay. But I remember when he was telling me that, it was like, yeah, I mean, he's telling me what I already know, that I need to move on. It doesn't matter where. But I really wanted that job. So we were just not arguing, but just like having this tough conversation. Yeah. And in that exact moment, I received the email from the university, like, you got it. I was like, I just showed him the cell phone, like, look, like the email, and just shaking. They were like, what? I don't know. They tell me that tomorrow they will meet with me in Google Teams again, and just, shaking. And I was like, okay. It was.
Oh, wow.
It was just about like, I don't know, the very next day I was going to be out there like looking for a job in a cafeteria or McDonald's or whatever. Yeah. And that night I received that notice and I was like, oh my God, it was close. It was close. Because honestly, it was more than the job and the money and the, like the status. It hadn't to do with that. It was not about the status. It was more about like, I really want to move forward in my career in something meaningful. It was that longing, and it was not it was not possible at that time, but it finally happened.
One of the things that really stuck in my head now during this conversation is like you mentioned, I want to do something meaningful. So I really want to do something meaningful. So I do think that it's a tough cookie to know what you want. Because when you know what you want, so I think it's really tough not knowing what you want. I think that's really difficult. I think you're lost. It's really noisy. Mm-hmm. So when you don't really know what you want, it's tough because you doubt yourself. You might be really influential sometimes. So you never know to set boundaries sometimes. But I think that when you know what you want, that's also tough because then sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't get it. Sometimes you get it when you want it. Sometimes you just get what you need, not what you want. So with that, I think it's really difficult. I've been interviewing women and I see that that's something in common in their like shapes of being women, they are really decisive on something. So mm-hmm. when they focus, they say like, okay, this is something that I want. But still, it's really tough for them to understand that the way to get there, it's not like this one, it's like this one sometimes. And that you have to go with it. And the
Yeah.
more you push back, the more life will push you back again.
Trusting the
So
process. Trusting the process is not easy at all. And honestly, I don't think that if something like that happened to me again, I think that I will still struggle in trusting the process.
of course.
But at the end, you need to walk it. You need to go through it, and there's no other option.
And I do think, because I also thought, like, recently I also had like my own one of those moments, right?
Mhm.
And I remember saying, like, okay, after I was like trying to, surviving the aftercare of the crisis, and then I thought, okay, but I think life will always be like this. There's always going to be one of those. That's life. There's
Yeah.
never going to be like the moment that you get like this super stable situation, then that won't be your life. As curious as you, Silvia, you are, I don't imagine yourself being, I see yourself being like a 85-year-old still trying to figure things out yourself, whatever the cost. So I am super happy whenever I get in contact or see a woman that's like this, like, okay, I don't have all of the answers, but let's figure them in the road, because to be honest, no one has them. Some people pretend they have them, but I don't think they
They
have them.
don't. No, it's just an illusion, right? That's something that I've learned along the way. Like, I'm a driver, that's for sure. Controladora, for sure. Driver. That's something that I've been working on in therapy. I don't know, just because I know that it's helpful for me not to be that much. So yeah, that's something that I've been working on. But definitely, I know that on the other hand, I've also learned like to love that part of myself, because I know that being like that makes me that. What could be the word? Like, yeah, just to be there, like a consistent. Maybe that's a word,
Yeah.
consistent, right? Yeah, have this determination to find what I want, although I know that maybe sometimes it's not going to be possible soon enough as I would like to. But I mean, you have to be there. You have to be patient at that point. And we have also been struggling a lot with our immigration papers here. And our biggest lesson has been be patient. Be patient, be comfortable navigating the uncertainty. So at the end, that's a lesson that we have taken, not because we want to, we didn't choose it, but we had to. And I think that it has bring us like different perks. One of them is like, if you want this specific job, you need to be patient.
Yeah.
If you want to work in that specific industry, you need to be patient. And maybe you will have like 2-3 different jobs before that one, but at the end, and if you are there focusing on that, it will come sooner or later.
And I think it's both, right? Like between being patient but also being proactive and active.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
sometimes I speak with people around, and I am not sure where is the idea coming of like, oh, but it will come. Well,
Like,
if you
look at your
if
window
you
and it will come. Your red car, your Ferrari will come. No,
will
no.
I think that if you, for whatever you work, that will come.
Yeah.
That's it. So I always in my head at least try to do a summary.
Okay.
I discover myself that the way my brain works is I do summaries and frameworks.
Okay.
That's what I do.
I love it.
The way for me that I figure out, oh, there's a pattern, we can do a framework, then it's gonna be easier. And if we don't want it, we throw it away, but we see if this works. Tick, 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 tick. I don't know. I think in my head
I love it.
that brings me peace. So the topic of today, I'm gonna do a quick recap, is
Okay.
how can we navigate life being loyal to the passion that we have.
That's a good one. I think that there's not a. Well, go ahead.
No, please go.
Okay, I think that there's not a precise recipe to do that. I think that it's like in some moments it will be easier to follow your passion and be more aligned to what your heart wants, right? Or your heart is pursuing. It will be easier because of the circumstances around you as well are going to help you be that aligned. And sometimes I think that's something because our immigration problems. I've also learned that sometimes you need to be like, just okay. So in this moment, at this stage, maybe this year or this month, it's not possible. And I need to be away from what I really like, what I really love, what I really want to be walking towards to or whatever. But uh, just making sure that it will come to an end, that stage will come to an end. And then you will transition into a different one that will allow you to focus on and connect with what you really want. Nothing is forever. That's it.
Nothing. So like there are so many like phrases, and they sometimes sound super cheesy and
I
super
know.
cliche,
And I hate them.
and
Yeah.
I hate them. But still, when you have these like real vulnerable moments, when you really remember yourself like feeling like that was not a good day, or that was not a good like phase, but as you just mentioned, so nothing is forever, everything passes.
Mhm.
You have to be patient, but still you have to be focused and figure out what you want.
Mhm.
um
And you need to take action as well.
exactly.
It's like a fine line, right? It's like a different ingredients in the same jar, different amounts of each ingredient every time, I guess, every day, different amount. Some days you need more patience and maybe less action. Sometimes you need more action, maybe less patience. I don't know, but it's like doing the mix every single day.
Fully agree. And for me, what I take from you, the ingredient that should always be there, it's being curious. I
Yeah.
think that curiosity is something that really should guide. So out of that, it will come.
I think so. Yeah, because I also remember when I was working in this place, it was a construction company. Working at
Hola.
working as this administrative assistant, I was like, how can I be curious in this environment full of I don't know, just metals because I don't
Yeah.
know even like whatever the materials are, and it was how can I be curious here? But you know what? Those months really helped me to be like to reaffirm that I am good at something very specific, open to different options, yes, but my talent is like super, super there. I mean, it's like words, storytelling, communication, community, like bringing different topics to the table and managing conversations, interviewing people, writing down ideas, that kind of stuff. So I am in a place right now that is just not aligned with myself, but I know that is helping me to pay the rent. But thank you. Thank you for being here because I am now being able to like reaffirm who I am, what I like, and why I'm good at.
Yeah. Fully.
Yeah.
So again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, for your advice, for your story, because I think that that's the best way we can convey a bit of wisdom to others.
Yeah. Topics to reflect on, I guess, no?
Exactly.
And create a community. That's something that you are doing, and I love it. I think when women connect and when women create community, the world is getting better. That's for sure.
I agree. Thank you so much. I will see you around because I know there's gonna be like a second one at least because
I
there are
love
many,
it.
many
I
more
love the idea.
topics. I love it.
The idea. Thank you so much for inviting me. And we are here on the other side of the ocean, but we are here.
Yeah, and I also want to know more about like the migration topic. I just interviewed one girl. She has her own community of Latin women migrating in Europe.
Wow.
So she creates like círculos de mujeres to dance and to draw and to live their migration process together.
That's so great. We have
really
so
nice.
many things in common, and we have if we like find ourselves sharing spaces with these kind of activities, whatever the activity is, we're just creating peace. We're just creating friendship and
Good
good
vibes.
vibes.
That's what we need.
Absolutely.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Fernanda. It's been an honor.
And see you in the next one.
Yeah, see you in the next one. Happy.